Welcome back, Jayhawks fans, to Over 50. Last night, the Kansas Jayhawks took care of the Michigan State Spartans in Madison Square Garden by a score of 87-74. And I got a couple takes on this game. The first take, I'll just start it over with. Look at the guy right here in the middle of this picture, Ochai Agbaji. That man was, he was the man. Just putting it plain and simple. And yes, I'm all decked out in my Big J hat and the old Papa Bird shirt. I ride or die with the Jayhawks, always have, always will. And I was not to say I wasn't impressed with how Agbaji played last night, but I think I was more impressed with the fact that Kansas didn't let Michigan State get back. Last year, it just kind of always felt like I didn't want the Jayhawks to get a big lead, because what would happen? They'd give the lead back, and then they'd have to scrap and fight, and then they'd pull off a 6-point, 7-point win when that shouldn't have been the case. I'm not going to say that Michigan State was owned by the Jayhawks last night, because until tail end of the first half, it was kind of a pretty back and forth game, and Michigan State was, I'll say, holding their own to an extent. But it's just obvious that the talent that this Kansas Jayhawks team has is just, I know I'm very biased, and I know people are watching this are going to say, well, of course you're going to say that they look like a number one team. I think they could easily push Gonzaga, and I know UCLA has everybody back, and they have this new transfer, and I can't think of his name, but I think the national championship is down to one of those three teams, unless something crazy happens. But I just wanted to cover a few little takes that CBS Sports had, and the big thing that I thought here was that Remy Martin won the honor of the Big 12 preseason player of the year. But right here, it took exactly one game for that prognostication to look, let's say, misguided. And that's what it looked like last night. Ochai Agbaji, when he hit that first three, I just kind of set up and I was like, because this isn't Emporia State. This is Michigan State. Yes, Michigan State made Emporia High School change their mascot, because they were the Emporia High School Spartans, so they had to change their mascot. So Michigan State is the only team that can have their mascot be the Spartans. No one else can have that. But other than that connection that Michigan State had with the city of Emporia, this is the Jayhawks, starting to do this to a team that is usually, I don't want to say a perennial powerhouse, but they usually are. They're in the mix for a Sweet 16. It seems like almost every year. Tom Izzo always has well-coached teams. But when Agbaji hit that first three, and and as the game went on, he just looked masterful. And Jay Billis said it looks like he's dominating in all facets of the game. And that's pretty much what he did. Self is down here saying that he was kind of surprised. We controlled it. He would have thought that the first 1 to 65 would have won, and Kansas, took it and they went with it. Not just a lot of Agbaji, a senior, who finished the game with 29 points, 9 of 17 from the field, no turnovers. He was also sent to the free throw line, where he was perfect 100%. He drew 7 fouls. That's the most ever that he's ever induced. And as a result, he was perfect from the charity stripe, perfect 8 for 8, and helped pace Kansas to one of its best wins in the 11-year history of the Champions Classic. So over a decade of participation, and this was one of the best wins by that program. ESPN, they did a little piece over here. I'm not overly impressed with ESPN for other reasons that I'm not going to get into now. I'm going to move my mug down here to the bottom. But in this piece, they basically asked, are you more impressed with Kansas's domination or Michigan State's ineptness, for lack of a better word of saying it. I'm paraphrasing that. Byron Metcalf said he was impressed with Kansas that separated from Michigan State in the second half, and that's what I felt was key. Also, I mean, they didn't have Jalen Wilson, okay, because of that suspension, and you can see that highlighted right there. But Kansas stepped on their throat, and they didn't raise up their foot and give them a chance to catch their breath. They kept their foot right on the throat of Michigan State until the end of the game. Remy Martin, he just looked like he was trying to sort of, I mean, you can't expect the guy to come into a completely different system and start throwing down 20 points a game like he did with Arizona State. But what I thought was interesting was I think all of his scoring came in the second half. And I remember one point in the second half, he had 13 points. And they made I think he ended up here, it says, Remy Martin is still trying to find rhythm with his new team. He had 3 turnovers, but 15 points on 5 for 9 shooting, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists. That is not a bad start for the Arizona State transfer, and I totally agree with that. Borzello said Kansas entered Tuesday night as legitimate national championship contender and did nothing to temper those expectations. And the Jayhawks did it without Wilson. I think that's key, because when you get Jalen Wilson back, and you get a guy who was, I believe, the leading rebounder last year, and also brings 11 points of production to the game. Kansas had to find a way to win the game without his production, knowing that he wasn't going to be there, and they did. And then he goes on to say the other impressive thing was the play of Martin. So we kind of already knew that. Nothing new there. I believe this guy's Pete Gasaway. He was impressed with a KU team that played without Wilson, but gave the impression that this game was put away for much of the second half, even if the score remained relatively close. That kind of goes with what I was saying. I mean, they didn't blow them out by 20, but when they got up on Michigan State, they didn't let them get back to within like 2 or 3 and then have to pour it on again. Agbaji had a great night, of course, and the Jayhawks gave the ball away just 9 times in 77 possessions. Look at this right here. I'll highlight that for you. The Jayhawks gave the ball away just 9 times in a fast 77 possession contest. That will win you some games, just like it says in the article. But that's true. If you don't turn the ball over, you don't give your opposition extra possessions. Just kind of like in football. When you turn the ball over, you give your opposition, you give your opponent another chance to take the ball down and score. And in college basketball, turnovers can be huge. Joe Lenardi said, as the guy in the room who picked Kansas to win it all, I think you can probably guess my answer. The Jayhawks did nothing to dispel the notion that they belong on the short list of national championship contenders, and they are going to get better when all the pieces are in place. You got to remember, this is just the first game. Yeah, they had an exhibition game against Emporia State. That doesn't matter. That was just more or less, hey, go out, play in front of the Clark crowd. Get used to that before you have to start, playing games for real. I mean, so I'm very impressed with how this Kansas team reacted. I'm impressed with how they responded. Mitch Lightfoot, he had some, trying to find the stats here. I had the stats pulled up, but trying to see if I can get back to that. I had that window up, and let's see, schedule, and let's get our result. And so we look at our box score and move myself out of the way. And McCormick played 22 minutes, 4 of 11. He had 10 points. He had 2 blocks. DeJuan Harris had 36 minutes, 3 for 7 on field goals. Didn't take any threes, missed 1 free throw. McCormick was 2 for 5 in the free throw line. I'd like to see that improve, because a big guy that's going to get fouled underneath the hoop, you need him to be able to add more. Christian Brown was kind kind of just sort of left kind of wanting to see more from him. In 34 minutes, only 6 points. McCormick and Lightfoot were the only ones that were in foul trouble. I mean, there was 20 fouls for the whole entire team. Zach Clements looked good, the freshman out of, I believe he went to Sunrise Christian in Wichita. He played really well. In 4 minutes, he scores 7 points and hit a 3, made 2 free throws in 4 minutes. So that is really now that's just a lot right there. If he can just develop and, maybe get some more playing time, it would have been nice to see what he could have done with maybe 10 minutes. Lightfoot had 10 minutes. He had 4 points. He had 4 fouls, 1 block, which that block was actually a foul. Bobby Pettiford, he looked good. He had 5 points, and he was, I saw him running a fast break, and, he laid it in at the other end. So just all in all, Kansas, I was very impressed with how they played. Shooting 35% from 3. I'd like to see that a little bit better, but when you have Brown going 0 for 2, Yusefu, he went 0 for 1. So, he's going to get a little bit, he's got to get acclimated, got to get used to playing with a new team. And, Coleman-Lands, you expect him to probably not go 1 for 3 from 3. So, you'd expect him to shoot a little bit better than that, but his first game again with a new team. So I would expect that to get picked up. But look at the free throw percentage, 79.2%, almost 80%. If you can hit 80% of your free throws, that's going to win you a lot of games too. So that's my recap for the game. I hope you guys enjoyed, or got some value out of this. If you'd like, please leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know how I could improve things. I'm trying to get my subscriptions up so I can actually get some software and some, video editing things so I can make my production a little bit better. So if you hit that subscribe button, that would help me a lot. Hit the like button, share this video out there with your friends. And until next time, rock chalk Jayhawk, and let's go, Brandon.